So now that we have our case workup done, we can give our diagnosis. And so my diagnosis for this case was generalized severe periodontitis, localized severe mobility, generalized decay, and a collapsed vertical dimension. And now that we've made our diagnosis, now we could go in on the treatment planning. And again, when I'm treatment planning complex cases, I'm sitting in the quiet of my office with the x-rays, the pictures, the mounted models, all the information, the perio chart, the charting, just so I have all the information in front of me and I'm not missing anything. We'll go through, we'll come up with various different treatment options for the patient, including a option to save their teeth if possible. And then we schedule, well, before we schedule, so when I spoke to her about saving her teeth, it was obvious that the upper arch could not be saved. So there's no treatment plan that we could offer in the upper arch. But if she wanted to save her lowers, she'd have to go through scaling and root planing, periodontal surgery, gingival grafting, maybe seeing an orthodontics, doing some fillings, some crowns, and some implant-supported crowns. And I made it clear to her that, you know, given her history, given where she's at, there's not a very hopeful prognosis for that. So she was not ready to try to save her teeth, and I didn't want her to, but at least, like I said, we've offered her that option. So now we give her our edentulous options. And we set up a treatment plan presentation with the patient. I think I went backwards. So the patient declines saving her teeth. We bring in our options for edentulating the patient. And now, as you can see in my existing form, I've added the LOCATOR Fixed to the different treatment options.
Are you including the implants in those prices?
No. No, if you look closely at that paper, at the bottom it says this is only the restorative fees. Your surgeon will give you those costs. Yep.
And at what point are you consulting your surgeon as far as like, hey, can you get 4 or 5 implants in here? Like, are you consulting them prior to presenting that?
Most of the time, it's after I give them their options. And then if they're interested in implants, then I'll refer them to the surgeon. But sometimes, you know, I see my surgeons all the time. I might have a case and say, hey, take a look at this. What do you think? But usually it's after we've found out what the patient would like to do. Yeah. Okay. All right, so the final treatment plan was going to be a maxillary screw-retained monolithic zirconia prosthesis on the top and a mandibular locator fixed prosthesis on the bottom that would be immediately loaded. The upper one's going to be freehand and immediately loaded with smart conversion and screw retain. Bottom one will be fully guided and immediately loaded with the C2F technology, which you'll understand as we go through it. All right, so now we have our CBCT. We want to send it to the laboratory for surgical planning. The lab's going to merge the files. They're going to give me a prosthetic design. And I usually like my team to give me the design before they plan the implants, because I don't want them to plan the implants and then I tell them I want to change the position of the teeth, and now we got to go back and plan the implants. I went ahead of myself. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's do that one more time. So after I approve the prosthetic design, the lab is going to go ahead and make a tentative implant design. They're going to call me up and say the plan is ready. We're going to have an online meeting, make sure we're happy with the implant positions, the implant sizes, the prosthetic design, and then they're going to fabricate the surgical guides. They're going to send me a summary of the surgical guides so I can approve those also. And so we do this maxillary setup so that I can give the lab all the information they need to work the case up. I'm giving them the occlusal plane, the buccal corridors, the midline, the incisal edge position, and I'm sitting at my desk with a picture of her in front of me so I know where I want to put those teeth. You don't have to do the setup. You can send the lab a picture, and if you have somebody you trust, they can do the setup for you also. So the lab is then going to scan my upper setup and the lower dentition. They're going to merge it with a CBCT and set up that online meeting between the surgeon, myself, and sometimes the lab technician. I'm going to approve the prosthetic design. And then once everything is scanned and everything is, the lab has everything they need, then we're going to do a lower setup because we want to have a backup denture just in case something happens that we can't load this case. So here's our backup lower denture. Here's our conversion prosthesis. This one is going to actually be converted and used as the surgical prosthesis on the top. And just the dentures against each other. And then we're going to duplicate that upper denture so that we have a freehand surgical guide. So it's an exact copy of the denture that we fabricate. Just a couple different views of the denture, the intaglio. And then we're going to grind a little trough along that denture so as the surgeon's placing those implants, he can make sure that the implant and the screw hole is going to come out within the confines of the teeth and not a screw hole coming out the buccal. So this is what the STL files look like after the laboratory scans the upper denture setup and the natural teeth. And then they're going to merge the files with the CBCT so that we can see where the bone is related to where the planned teeth are. And then they're going to design my lower prosthetic based on the setup opposing it. And so the software, which is called Real Guide, they're going to use to plan the implant positions, plan the height of the implants, make sure that they're within the confines of the teeth, look at the trajectories of the implants. And then we could start doing things like making these occlusal planes so we know the restorative space and we make sure that it's parallel to the mandible. We can have an offset so that the tissue thickness, there's going to be room for the tissue thickness when we seat that prosthetic. And then there's the bone reduction guide, which is what determines what the restorative space is going to be. And we can also add the locator abutments that we're planning based on the thickness of the tissue. So then they can make their cuts where the bone reduction is going to be, which will be related to the surgical plan. And now we have everything we need to design guides and have a predictable result. So they're going to send me a summary of all the implant positions, what length they're going to be, what diameter they're going to be, the positions they're going to be in, so that everyone can order all the proper components so that we have everything we need on the day of surgery. And we do that for every single implant site, and that's signed off by both myself and by the surgeon. And so just a quick summary of how this workflow is going to go. After the surgical planning is done, there's going to be a pin guide and a fixation base. The fixation base is separate from this pin guide, and it holds all the other guides along the way during the surgical procedure. The bone reduction guide is also the fixation base. So any bone that's sticking up above this fixation base after the teeth are removed is going to be taken down to give us a restorative space. This osteotomy guide is going to attach by these little locking mechanisms to the fixation guide, and that's where the osteotomies, the drills are going to go, and that's where the implants are going to be placed through the guides. There's going to be a prosthetic that has holes in it ahead of time that we're going to pick up in the mouth with cylinders, and it's guided into place by this little carrier guide that keeps it in the exact same position as that we plan these teeth. Then there's going to be an analog model that this appliance, once it's picked up, can be attached to, so we can secure the analogs and create a model that's exactly the same implant positions as it is in the mouth. And then finally we'll pick up the locators on a second prosthetic that doesn't have the holes through it, it just has wells that we can inject our acrylic. And you'll see that a little more clearly as we go on. So just a little better close-up, we have the fixation base. And this is the way that it looks. When you place this, it's not touching the bone. It's kind of suspended in air, held in by these little stabilization pins that are pounded into the jaw. And all the parts, all the other guides are put into place and are held firmly by this chrome lock. And so this becomes a carrier for all of the rest of the stackable guides. So here's our pin guide, which fits over the teeth. It has to be made on a perfect model. It has to fit perfectly. And we attach it to our fixation guide so that we can deliver that fixation base and secure it into place. And when you place it in the model, it has these little window cutouts because this has to fit perfectly to these teeth. It can't have any rock, it can't have any play, or else we're going to be placing the implants in a position that it wasn't planned in. And just a little view after the fixation base is secured to the mandible. And now we're going to use the carrier guide, the osteotomy guide. That's where we're going to use our drills and guide our drills and place our implants. And this is the carrier guide, which has these little posts on it, so those prosthetics slip onto those posts to put it in exactly the spot that we planned it during our virtual planning. So the purpose of this carrier guide is to protect the surgical field when we're doing our pickup. It simulates the soft tissue thickness, so when they suture the tissue back in place, we're not putting too much pressure on the tissue. And it's also to position the prosthetic. So here is how the rapid appliance is the one with the holes in it. That is positioned by the little thimbles that come off of that carrier guide. And that's what the rapid appliance looks like. Just like if we were just picking up the final surgical prosthetic in the mouth by attaching cylinders and injecting acrylic around it. And for this case, because we're not using SRA abutments and we're not picking up the locators, I'm taking an impression directly to the implant fixtures. So there's no intermediate abutment in this case like we would on a conventional screw retain case where we put MUAs or SRA abutments. And this is the final prosthetic where we'll do the pickup outside of the mouth. Here's the carrier guide that will allow us to do the pickup. I'm sorry, the C2F model. And you can also see that we'll have a printed model opposing it, so we can do any adjustments to the occlusion after we pick up the final surgical appliance. And what you'll see is, once you pick up the rapid appliance in the mouth by injecting acrylic around them, this will be transferred to the C2F model with analogs on it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach the analogs to the C2F model to secure them in place and give us an exact replica of where the implants are in the mouth. And now just very quickly to show the actual guides, that's the fixation base, that's the carrier guide, They're connected together. That's the osteotomy guide connected to the fixation base. Here's our carrier guides connected to the fixation base. Our rapid appliance again. And our final prosthetic. And what we do is we pre-cut these rubber dams so that when we're doing our intraoral pickup and injecting acrylic, we don't want anything to go down under the flap and cause a problem. So we want to keep it as clean as possible. So we'll just use a rubber dam punch, and we'll put some holes in that rubber dam to fit over that carrier guide. Excuse me for a second. Just a little close up. And so this is the rapid appliance. It's got the holes in the top. And so once this is in the mouth, we're going to inject acrylic around here to pick up the position of the implants.